Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, Nazreed. This is Suhaib Ahmed, and I welcome you all on my YouTube channel, which is obviously by the name of English Commentary at the Rate of UPM. So today I'm going to talk to a very talented young man who has topped the 2020 PPSC English exam. His name, I'll want that the introduction will come from his side rather than I'll be introducing him. So let's start our debate. Assalamu alaikum, M.Moazzam.
Walaikum Assalam.
M.Moazzam, कैसे हैं आप? ठीक ठाक हैं?
I'm very good. बहुत अल्लाह ताला का शुक्र है.
जबरदस्त. अच्छा M.Moazzam, without any delay, I would like to start our conversation on basically this conversation will be centered around the interview skills and how did you prepare your interview and what was the secret that enabled you to top the PPSC exam. So let's start the conversation by the first question. So my first question is, how did you prepare your PPSC interview? What was the process? What was the way you prepared your interview?
Yeah, but there was no such way, singular or monolithic way which I followed. I just went through the summaries. Summary that's difficult because the real problem is you don't have time. Students don't have time, and they can prepare summaries. I prepared summaries. I went through the themes. I knew about literature when I was in masters and when I did my MPhil, and I went through the summaries and themes and some other crucial questions related to those works. And I think that was and I also prepared one favorite genre, as people often suggest. I prepared poetry, and I also prepared one favorite poet. Of course, they are not always willing to discuss your favorite poet. They might ask you what about any other thing. And they asked me about who's your favorite poet. I told them Keats, and they said no. हर बंदा तो यही बता रहा है, कोई और बताओ बेटा. So I said आप जो मर्जी पूछ लें. So they started asking from Dog's House. But one thing, of course, candidates should know that it's not difficult. It's not difficult the way we are told that it will be. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all.
My question is basically, you prepare your interview on your own self, या आपने कोई academy वगैरह join की थी, या आपने कहीं से coaching ली थी, mentoring ली थी, तो आपने खुद ही सारा कुछ prepare किया था?
Yes, I prepared it myself. I never went to an academy. I don't, really. In a way, I had colleagues. I had very good friends who helped me a lot. But in a way, as far as institution is concerned, no, I never went to an academy. I don't really.
तो आपने ये नहीं अपने तौर पे ही तैयारी की और वो आपको मतलब
yes. Of course, to say that I did it single-handedly, of course, is an exaggeration. There were friends like you who helped me a lot, and I went through it. Otherwise, of course, it's really difficult for an individual to know everything. Of course, there were people who guided me. Friends like you, who are from GCU and from Namak, they really helped me.
अच्छा M.Moazzam,
my teachers.
आपने MPhil कंप्लीट कर लिया था इंटरव्यू से पहले, या आपका मास्टर्स की बेसिस पे ही सारा कुछ हुआ है?
No, I had my MPhil degree, but of course it was not allowed. Candidates are not allowed to show any other degree except on which they, on the basis of which they have applied. So it was master, and they did ask me, what have you been doing after your master's? So I had already told them that I did MPhil from GCU and so on and so forth. And they started asking questions about your thesis and so on and so forth.
Right. तो यानी आपका मास्टर्स जो है वो उसकी बेस पे जाहिर अप्लाई किया था, लेकिन आपका एमफिल भी था, मगर चूंकि वो डायरेक्टली नहीं करता तो जाहिर इनडायरेक्टली आपको फायदा हुआ उसका.
Yeah, I think it I don't know whether that benefited me or not, but in a way, I think if you are well prepared, you don't need any other thing except the eligible criteria. You need to have a master. I mean, the rest is irrelevant. Even if you're a PhD, it doesn't make any difference if you don't answer their questions. So in a way, prepare hard, even if you're a master, and it won't make any difference if the other candidates have PhDs or MPhils. Just
So
try
basically,
hard
so basically,
and
you
consult
are
some.
suggesting that those who don't have the degree of maybe MPhil or PhD, they need not to be worried about that. If they are MA or BS, still they have good chance to get through.
They have equal chance, not a good chance. They have perfectly, equal chance. And they, of course, they are not very much concerned about it. If you don't answer them, of course, it's going to go bad for you. If you answer them, of course, it will turn good for you.
Right. Moazzam, you explained in detail my first question. So my second question is, how did your interview start? I mean, when you entered the interview room, what was the first question?
They asked me, M.Moazzam. I said, yes, I am M.Moazzam. And then, of course, the first question, I think she asked me, the member, she asked me, uh, what have you been doing since your master's? So I told them I was doing MPhil, so on and so forth. And then it moved on to my thesis. He asked that, have you done your thesis? I told them yes. And they asked me about my thesis. I told them about the thesis, and then it went to what are you reading nowadays? So I went to that, and then they answered. I told them I'm rereading George Orwell. I'm rereading George Orwell. Of course, everything you need to use, candidates needs to plan everything. They need to plan everything in a way. They should think when they, from the very start. Most of the students, the first mistake, of course, we make whenever we enter, in the room, and whenever we, of course, sit for the interview, the first thing they ask, they ask you about your name, Muslim or Suhaib. So we say yes, and then they say introduce yourself, and then we, of course, begin, the mighty line we have crammed for ourselves, that I am Muhammad Saib, or I am Muhammad Muslim, I am this. No, they have already mentioned your name. Get on with it. Tell them that as we have mentioned my name, Muslim it is, so on
Right,
and so
as
forth.
it
Look,
as
mental
I suppose. Sorry to interrupt you. I suppose everyone was asked the same way to start the conversation. Even I was not even asked to introduce, and they asked me, "So let's start a discussion and all that. What are you doing these days?"
yes, yes. Now, mostly, I mean, if they are, you need to be mentally present over there. For example, they ask you a question, what are you doing? What are, for example, uh, in one of my interviews once, a member asked me, you have done your master's in English literature. You must have been reading English literature when you were doing your bachelor's. So I said, yes. And he asked, oh, which novel, you went through at that time. So I told him, okay, it was probably, I told him it was maybe Alchemist, and he started asking questions from me from the Alchemist. And of course, it was a wrong answer. I should have told him what I had prepared the night before, instead of telling him, the truth in the sense that what I read some 4 years ago. Be mentally present over there. Tell them what do you think you can defend over there, and that will make the difference.
Right,
So I
Muslim.
told, they asked me what are you reading nowadays. I told them what I had read the night before, what I prepared for them. So
So
I
that
then
seems
told them
that seems a bit unconventional kind of a start of your interview. Generally, they ask about the introduction. So you said it's not
yeah,
necessary that they'll always start the conversation by asking, introduce yourself. It can be the other way around as well. But we should prepare
yes,
for
yes,
that as well. The candidates should prepare them.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Right. Okay, Mazhab, my next question to you is, what were the questions you were asked during your interview, and how many questions you were asked, and how did you respond to those questions?
The number of questions, I don't really remember the number of questions they asked me. A lot of questions. And usually what happens, they ask you one question and then they start, you answer it, and then they pick a line from your answer, and then they go on, of course, telling you many other things. So that, of course, the real problem. That, of course, the real problem. For example, they asked me one question, of course, from Orwell, and I told them, and then they went on asking from that book other questions, that how is it relevant to Pakistan, how is it related to your, view, and so on and so forth. So there was, in a way, maybe 25 questions, but
तो टाइम कितना लगा आपके इंटरव्यू
but the major questions,
आपका इंटरव्यू
it was
कितनी ड्यूरेशन का था अंदाजन
15 to 16 minutes, I think.
Right, that's
15 to 16 minutes.
तो कोई ऐसा क्वेश्चन जो आपको नहीं आता था और आपने उसको टैकल किया, तो वो मतलब कोई ऐसा क्वेश्चन बता सकते हैं आप जो आपको आता नहीं था बट आपने बड़ा अच्छा उसको टैकल कर लिया और आप ये समझते रहे बाद में कि मैंने इसको बड़ा अच्छा हैंडल किया है, कोई ऐसा क्वेश्चन भी था?
Most of the questions, what happens with me, I'm very dull-witted in the sense that I don't really pick questions quite easily. So I take time. In a way, when I want to answer something, even then I take time, quite a lot of time. So whenever I start my answer, I start from Pindi and then I will come to Lahore, or that,
Right.
labyrinth, of course. And eventually I come to a, answer that helps. I think one of the questions she asked me about juxtaposition, I told her about juxtaposition, and then she went on asking from literature. Give an example where juxtaposition, literary juxtaposition has been used. So in a way, I didn't know about it. So I told her one of the two examples, which I thought case juxtaposition. I think it worked well. It worked well.
अच्छा मोज़म, कितने लोग थे आपके पैनल में और आपसे ज्यादातर वो लिटरेचर से पूछे गए या लिंग्विस्टिक्स से थे? आपका मेजर लिटरेचर में है ना?
Yes, most of the questions from literature, because I had already told them that I have done, MPhil in literature, master's in literature. I think they will ask questions from the area you inform them. They will not, of course, hesitate to ask questions from other areas, but still they will try to be focused, very much focused on the area you, of course, have mastered. For example, go on, you tell them that I have done masters in linguistics, masters in literature, and then you ask questions from such an area. And it's not difficult. Interview is not difficult. Mostly, I mean, people lose their composure over there, and that creates problem for them. That creates problem. Otherwise, it's quite easy. Quite easy. I asked people, about their interviews. Their interviews were also, much the same, conventional way. I mean, easy to go. Just go through it. I mean, it's not difficult. And the previous question I want to tell, okay, there are two kinds of questions. One, of course, is the question of knowledge. They will, of course, ask you something. Take example, they would ask you who wrote Paradise Lost. And even if you don't know about these questions, don't answer them. Say sorry. It's perfectly all right. But there are some questions. For example, they would ask, why did you do MPhil in English literature, or why have why have you done your masters in English literature? So these are the answer. These are the questions that you must answer. You need to answer these questions. I mean, if you don't answer, well, most of people say that, well, sir, Abu ne kaha tha, Flan ne kaha tha. So that doesn't work. Whatever you have done, just defend it. Yes, just defend it. Then tell them you have done. It's perfect. So on and so forth. I want to, enhance myself. So many other things, but we don't stop. Don't stop on such questions which are personal. For example, which are related, to your opinion. And how do you think they are relevant to our society? These are not the questions that you can say sorry on.
तो मोज़म, मुझे इसमें
ये आपने
कर दिया कि the questions which are opinion based should not be left alone. They should be responded because they are based on your opinion, and you should definitely comment on those questions. But मेरा इसी से related एक सवाल है कि जो questions नहीं आते उनको आपने किस तरह लीव करना है और दूसरा ये है कि आपने मतलब ये जो इंटरव्यू है ये ये वाकई में इंसान का नॉलेज चेक करने के लिए लिया जाता है, या ये कोई और चीज है? यानी इसमें क्या चेक हो रहा होता है? यानी आपकी कम्युनिकेशन स्किल चेक हो रही है, क्योंकि नॉलेज तो आई गेस कि ऑलरेडी आपका ड्यूरिंग रिटन जो आपका होता है पेपर, उसमें चेक हो गया होता है, तभी तो आप बैठे हुए उधर। तो आप क्या समझते हैं कि किस चीज पे ज्यादा फोकस होना चाहिए व्हेन यू आर गोइंग फॉर इंटरव्यू? यानी आपको इस चीज का प्रेशर लेना चाहिए कि मुझे ये सवाल नहीं आता, या यू शुड बी कॉन्फिडेंट के नो आई एम नॉट एनसाइक्लोपीडिया, तो इट्स वेरी नॉर्मल कि कुछ चीजें नहीं आती इंसान को, कुछ आती हैं?
Look, I'm not very expert on interviews. I have always feared interviews like the rest of the candidates. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि I mean it's a mixture of different things. For example, if you go blank over there, and of course they won't like it. कि इसमें कोई एक आंसर ही नहीं दिया, इसको सारे सारे जवाब नहीं आते थे, किसी के सवाल का जवाब नहीं आया, तो of course they won't like it. और अगर आप वहाँ पे जाते हैं, एतमाद से बात नहीं करते, और of course जितना मर्जी आता हो, it won't do you good if you don't answer it in a very in a confident way or in a suitable way. तो वो बड़ा मसला करेगा वो आपके दोनों चीजें। आई मीन इट्स मिक्सचर ऑफ मेनी थिंग्स। क्या
You
वो
mean to say
कोई
that
सवाल उनको पसंद आ जाता है।
if you respond those token questions confidently, it will boost your confidence and you'll feel better during your interview.
Absolutely, I mean if you will answer everything perfectly, it will definitely। और एक और बात है, पहले 2-3 मिनट ऑफ कोर्स डिफिकल्ट होते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट होते हैं। तो अगर लोगों को लगता है कि हम वहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा एतमाद से गए होंगे, तो ये ऑफ कोर्स रॉन्ग थिंग। हम भी कांपते हुए गए थे भाई, हाथ कांप रहे थे, सब कुछ हो रहा था, तो
अच्छा,
इस तरह होता है,
आप भी
प्रेशर
घबराए
बिल्कुल।
हुए थे? मतलब आप घबराए हुए थे?
एब्सोल्युटली,
तो आपने
एब्सोल्युटली
आप
भाई, मैंने
माशाल्लाह माशाल्लाह टॉप किया है, तो आप भी घबराए हुए थे। तो ये आपने किस तरह से मेंटेन किया अपना पोस्चर वहां पे? जाहिर है टॉप करना कोई छोटी चीज तो नहीं है,
नहीं,
पूरे पंजाब से आपने टॉप किया था माशाल्लाह।
पहली बात तो ये है कि आई मीन लिटिल बिट एंजाइटी ऑफ कोर्स इज गुड। इट मेक्स यू लुक एट द फ्यूचर, इट मेक्स यू प्रिपेयर फॉर फ्यूचर। ओ टॉप वाली बात, इट्स आई डोंट रियली नो कि किस तरह होगा टॉप। I just went there. I went for the exam. I went for the interview, and I prepared for it. Of course,
You never expected
uh,
to be
that's what.
you never
No,
expected to be top. Right.
no, I didn't. I didn't foresee it. Yes, I didn't foresee it. But of course, the thing is, you need to work hard. You need to work very, very hard for everything, for whatever you have done, whatever you have done.
Okay, Moses, my next question is, was your interview tough? Where would you rate it? Was it tough?
It wasn't a tough interview. It wasn't
It
a tough
wasn't tough.
interview. And yes, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. I think. I mean, there must be some question that you need to leave. I mean, you may pass over them, but it was not difficult. It was not difficult in the sense that there would, of course, be in a way cynical of you. They weren't cynical. They knew that candidates are coming, and they knew that candidates are others, and you yourself have potential, so on and so forth. They were considering everything. They were considering everything. It was not difficult, and the generally interviews are not difficult. Generally interviews are not difficult. In a way,
Right.
you need to prepare for everything. You need to prepare, the area. You need to prepare, your subject in a good way. And it's perfectly all right if you miss one or two questions. It's perfectly
You
all
mean to
right.
say you should leave no stone unturned?
Yes, absolutely. Prepare hard. That of course is
Right.
the
That's
key line.
exactly right. Now, my next question is, what was your feeling after the interview? Were you really expecting that I'll be selected because of the uncertainty that's going around, because of the unemployment, so many problems, not only in our
Uh,
province, but all over the
I
country?
wasn't. Of course, interviews never go as you thought, as you think they would go. Of course, they would, they go the way the panel wants, the interview to go, because they are the shepherd over there. They will take you wherever they want. But of course, I wasn't sure, and I wasn't feeling very confident about it. I thought it's just a normal interview. and my name turned around, around 100 or so. But of course, I didn't, I was pretty confident about my written exam. It was good. I went on and I performed very well in it. I knew that I was going to pass it. But about the interview, I wasn't sure about it. I knew that I have answered some of the questions. I knew I have
sorry
satisfied
to
the,
interrupt you again.
panel.
आपके रिटन में कितने मार्क्स थे और इंटरव्यू में कितने मार्क्स थे आपके?
I don't really remember the marks. I don't know.
Right.
I think there were about some 74 or 76 in written, and I don't remember interviews marks.
That's a great score, keeping in view
When you see your
paper, so many people were, just they kind of wept. They were crying after the paper that the paper is one of the toughest papers in the history of PPSC, and I think it was exactly like that. Very tough paper it was, wasn't it?
It was relatively, there were some questions, of course, that make me panic in the paper. Those questions were from the Indian literature.
So
the other questions, they
South
were
Asian
pretty,
literature, I guess. A lot of questions from South Asian literature in that paper.
Yes, yes. South Asian literature. Yes.
Right.
That, of course, those were difficult. I didn't even mark them. I didn't even fill the blanks.
And I guess because of your written marks, you secured the first position. That's, I guess, because that's a very, very fine score.
Maybe.
Because it's not a job of Tom, Dick and Harry to score, 70 plus in PPSC exam, right?
Maybe. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know much about interviews. I just know that, one needs to prepare hard. One needs to go for the interview. One needs to put an effort in it. And the rest, of course, it will work. I'm pretty sure that it will work for the candidates.
Right. Moazzam, now the last question. What would be the advice you'll be giving to our youngsters, the candidates who are looking for the interview? What will be your tip? What will be your advice? How should they be prepared for this interview, and how should they go about the business?
The first thing, of course, will be don't worry about it. Yes. Can you see me? Okay. The first thing, of course, will be don't worry about anything. Don't worry about the interview. Just prepare hard. And it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. Written or interview, they're not difficult. Both of these things are not difficult. Just prepare hard. In a way, as you might have realized by now from the interview, that I myself is a country bumpkin. I don't really know about things. I just went there, tried hard, and went through. That is the key. But just don't worry about it. Don't panic about it. Prepare. Take guide from teachers. And you have your friends, colleagues. Even if you are, if you want to join an academy, to join it. If you think that it will help you, prepare better, do join academies. Do whatever you want. First, put an effort in it. Put an effort in it. Try hard, and it's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. अगर मैं कर सकता हूँ यकीन जाने तो आप बड़े आराम से बहुत आराम से कर सकते हैं सारे.
Exactly.
And I'm not kidding about. I'm not kidding.
All right.
स्माइल यकीन जाने ऐसी बात नहीं है. मैंने बताया कि मैंने देखे हुए स्टूडेंट्स बहुत ब्रिलियंट स्टूडेंट्स हैं. अभी मेरे यहाँ पे यूनिवर्सिटी में बहुत अच्छे ब्रिलियंट स्टूडेंट यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन, और वहाँ पे मेरे दोस्त अहबाब बहुत ब्रिलियंट हैं. और वो सिर्फ थोड़ी सी वो मेहनत कर लें तो बहुत, और आपको सिर्फ थोड़ी सी मेहनत चाहिए और कुछ भी नहीं है. इट्स नॉट डिफिकल्ट. और अगर मैं कर सकता हूँ तो यकीन जाने कर सकते हैं आप, सब लोग कर सकते हैं.
राइट. अच्छा मोअज़्ज़म, आप बच्चों को एक तो ये कह रहे हैं कि खुद भी आप तैयारी कर सकते हैं, एकेडमी भी, यानी कुछ करें आप, मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप बैठे में और वेट कर रहे हैं किसी चीज का. तो यू शुड इमीडिएटली स्टार्ट इफ यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग दैट यू विल क्वालिफाई द रिटन टेस्ट.
आप बिल्कुल दे शुड स्टार्ट राइट अवे. ये तो बिल्कुल पहला की लाइन ही है, अभी से शुरू करें.
अच्छा ठीक. मोअज़्ज़म,
अगर नाम नहीं भी आता तो इट्स नॉट टिक टू बी वरीड. आप तैयारी कर रहे हैं तो इट विल हेल्प यू इन एनी अदर एग्जाम. कोई भी
अच्छा,
PPSC का,
मतलब
PPSC का, यूनिवर्सिटीज।
मतलब इससे रिलेटेड एक और
जी सर।
क्वेश्चन है कि ड्रेसिंग के हवाले से आप बच्चों को क्या एडवाइस करेंगे कि क्योंकि इंग्लिश का जो इंटरव्यू है इंग्लिश के लेक्चरर का वो डेफिनेटली इंग्लिश में होता है, तो उसके लिए आप ड्रेसिंग क्या सजेस्ट करेंगे बच्चों को, किस तरह की करके जानी चाहिए, क्योंकि मोस्टली बच्चों को पता ही नहीं होता और वो इधर से मार खा जाते हैं। तो ड्रेसिंग का आपकी नजर में कितना रोल है आपके इंटरव्यू में?
ये भी आप, I mean, जो मुझे जानते हैं उनको तो पता है कि I don't have any sense of a sense of dressing myself. So how can I advise others? Just look good. I mean, लें कोई अच्छी सी चीज पहन लें, I mean, उसके लिए अच्छा सूट वगैरह पहन लें, I mean, शलवार कमीज with waistcoat, of course. वो they were candidates and they went through these interviews like that, and of course they passed those interviews. तो वो शलवार कमीज भी बहुत अच्छा ऑप्शन है, सूट भी बहुत अच्छा ऑप्शन। और वो आपको पता है, I mean, I think everybody is more qualified than me,
राइट।
especially for that
अच्छा, मतलब
in
एक
that
और
area.
क्वेश्चन जो बहुत से बच्चे करते हैं वो ये है कि आप, हमारा ओवरऑल सिस्टम भी इसी तरह का है कि जी हम हमारा हमारे जो एग्जाम्स होते हैं उसमें इंग्लिश, स्पोकन इंग्लिश का कोई पार्ट नहीं होता, और वी आर जस्ट ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ हाउ वी स्पीक, हाउ वी कम्युनिकेट ड्यूरिंग आवर इंटरव्यू। उसका अच्छा खासा पोर्शन भी है आपकी सिलेक्शन में, तो बच्चे थोड़ा सा परेशान भी होते हैं क्योंकि प्रैक्टिस नहीं होती, तो जाहिर है हमारा इंटरव्यू इंग्लिश में। तो आप क्या सुजेस्ट करेंगे कि थोड़े से टाइम में यानी इसको कितनी अहमियत आप देते हैं कि आपकी जो इंग्लिश है, स्पोकन इंग्लिश है, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल है, इस पे कितना उनको काम करना चाहिए, और किस तरह से भी टाइम भी ज़्यादा थोड़ा ही रह गया है, जल्दी जल्दी इंटरव्यूज चल रहे हैं, तो आप क्या समझते हैं कि किस तरह से वो इतने शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम में अपने आप को उसके लिए तैयार कर सकते हैं?
I think they should listen to native speakers. I mean, they might like to listen news from an English channel, and they should practice it on daily basis with their friends, with other, of course, candidates, especially with the girls. I mean, they don't have much, that they don't especially have that chance कि वो बार बार अपने दोस्त को मिलेंगे, और they can do something. I mean, get your friends on the telephones and call them. Even then क्या practice करें, लाजमी practice करें, otherwise वो वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा मुश्किल होता है बोलना। तो थोड़ा सा तुम of course आप इंटरव्यू में जाते हैं, थोड़ा सा प्रेशर होता है, तो of course it makes you confused। तो आप थोड़ी कोशिश करें, प्रैक्टिस of course लाजिम है, उसके लिए स्पीकिंग के लिए, वो इसके लिए मैं ज़्यादा खुद
अच्छा मुज़म,
समय लेके।
ठीक हो गया, यानी इसके लिए भी आप लिसनिंग, जिसको कहते हैं कि इफ यू वांट टू बिकम अ गुड स्पीकर यू मस्ट बी अ वेरी गुड लिसनर, तो आप अच्छे लिसनर हैं तो यू बिकम अ गुड स्पीकर।
एब्सोल्युटली।
राइट। अच्छा मुज़म, एक
यस।
चीज और है जो कुछ जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं वो ये कहते हैं कि अगर आपने रिसर्च की भी है तो आप वो रिसर्च भी साथ ले जाएं, तो वो भी आपको एक डायरेक्शन आपकी सेट हो जाती है कि इंटरव्यू शायद उसी के इर्द गिर्द घूमे। तो इस सिलसिले में आप क्या सजेस्ट करेंगे बच्चों को?
True, true. I mean, they should, whoever has done any research, he or she should take that, thesis of her or his to the interview. Or of course, they ask you questions from your thesis, but don't think they will ask only about your thesis. They will ask many other things, but they do ask, of course, from your thesis. So do take those theses, in the interview. They will help. Of
राइट।
course, if you are prepared for those questions.
Right. Thank you very much,
But
Moazzam,
there
for
are general other guidelines. For example,
right, right.
there are of course other general guidelines. Like if you have prepared a point, don't just prepare his 2 or 3 points. They will ask you, I mean, how many points you have read. So you will tell them, 3 points. They will say, oh, favorite point, I will see 3 lines याद नहीं। So of course that creates problems. उसके लिए ज़्यादा करेंगे। If you have prepared a novelist, so prepare more novels of that
Right.
author. वो इस तरह करके जरा सोच के जरा जाएं। I mean, the kind of questions they can ask you about your studies. Think about those questions and then try to answer. And another, I would of course suggest that do visit, the day before your interview. Visit PPSC office before your interview, the day before your interview, or 2 days before. Take questions from the candidates. It will help. You will get to know what kind of questions they're asking, and then you will be able to answer those questions. in a
Right.
Suitable.
Right. Thank you very much, Moazzam, for joining me, and it was pleasure
Well,
talking to you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So this is the conversation with Moazzam, who's topped PPSC exam last time of English lecture. So I hope you must have enjoyed this conversation. And if you like the video, do like and share this channel and also subscribe. See you in the next video. Till then, it's goodbye.